Look, I just think you've been texting him too much.
He's my cousin.
So why'd you send him nudes? For the Late AM show, I'm Jack Roach.
And I'm Jennifer Roach.
Kid Rock, seen here looking like my 3-year-old's idea of what I looked like as a teenager, attracts only the best and brightest fans. For example, in Mr. Rock's Nashville Steakhouse, a literal Nazi was asked to leave because he was drunk and blocking the emergency exit. When police were called in, the Nazi attacked them with his colostomy bag. Police are still investigating whether the bag was filled with fecal matter or Kid Rock's new album. But how drunk do you have to be for Kid Rock to say, hey man, that's not cool?
Several people have been set on frickin' fire because they were hoarding fuel in their vehicles, including one woman in South Carolina who decided it would be fun to run from the cops in a stolen car and roll that mother. Police say she emerged from the car completely engulfed in flames and that it was totally sick, yo.
It's pretty metal. A Democrat lawmaker in South Carolina is so frustrated by the lack of lethal injection chemicals that he's trying to bring back firing squads. I don't know, man. I feel like whenever your response to a problem is, can't we just shoot them? You might want to take a step back and ask yourself some pretty probing questions, like, has my murder boner lasted over 4 hours? Should I call a physician? What would Kid Rock do?
You should not ask yourself what Kid Rock does. Researchers have found that coronavirus can make men permanently impotent.
What?
If they'd figured that out a year ago, we would have had vaccines within 5.5 hours, and your neighbor with that MAGA hat would have worn 3 masks and a face shield.
I'm gonna go get revaccinated. In case you haven't heard, and if that's true, you really need to stop getting your news from us. India is being ravaged by a COVID-19 outbreak that has destroyed its healthcare system. Residents are getting so desperate, they're covering themselves in cow dung and urine in hopes it'll prevent or cure the infection. In the US, the only bullcrap we used to prevent COVID came from the White House.
Oh, sick burn. But in Denver, 2 cops got suspended for using violence against nonviolent protesters during a rally against police violence. Authorities said they put the officers in timeout, but they will be returned to active duty when their aim improves.
Also in India, a bride left her groom at the altar because he couldn't recite his timetables, signaling he lied about his education. Meanwhile, half the people I work with think that the earth is flat and dinosaurs were a hoax. So cheers to this woman's high standards.
But in America, Corona is seeming to taper off, which means life can go back to normal. Yay. Biden and the CDC say that you can stop wearing a mask if you're vaccinated and not ugly. But in another turn to normalcy, insurance companies are seeing a rise in sales of mass shooting policies. America, one way or another, we'll get you.
Crime is getting so bad everywhere these days that even Canada is having to hire police. A man reported several wooden posts missing from his property, and the Mounties traced them to a beaver dam. Because the beaver had brown fur, the Mounties shot it 17 times and left a baggie of maple syrup on the ground next to it. I'm just kidding, they're Canadian.
Right.
They shot it 17 times and left a bag of maple syrup on the ground next to it, eh?
Also in Canada, a counselor has gotten all kinds of passive-aggressive thank you notes after putting a sex offender in charge of a sexual assault support group. The support group rightly pointed out that sex offenders don't belong in leadership roles in support groups. They belong in the American House of Representatives. Or on TLC.
Well, speaking of Josh Duggar, who has been arrested on charges of child pornography and has previously confessed to molesting his sisters, a judge released him to live with his 6 children and pregnant wife. Do you know the difference between a sex offender and someone safe to be around his children? Because this judge doesn't. A New York judge told a mother she has to choose between her Confederate flag decoration or custody of her mixed-race child. Normally I'd say this is a real Sophie's choice, but this woman would take the side of the Nazis. Around there, take both of them. A Texas man has been arrested on charges he kept a tiger at the house he was staying at, but the tiger got away. The man was out on bond for murder charges, and police say the tiger is a suspected cat burglar. A GOP representative said the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol was indistinguishable from a normal tourist visit. 5 people died, including a police officer, so where is this guy vacationing? Metropolis? Gotham City? Detroit? It may shock you to know that this guy represents Georgia and owns a gun shop. His store slogan is, "The South will rise again, but our prices won't." But great news! We found evidence of voter fraud. A 70-year-old Pennsylvania man voted for Trump twice, once in his name and again by casting a vote in the name of his mother, who had been dead for 12 years. He got 5 years probation and can't serve on jury duty. 4 years prior, someone who had been convicted of tax fraud cast a provisional ballot at the device of a poll worker, thinking they were eligible to vote. This person got sentenced to 5 years in prison. For bonus points, which one do you think was a white man and which one was a black woman? But it's time to delete the internet. Apparently there's a trend going around of people letting raw meat rot for 6 months before eating it, saying it gets them high. 1, you know this is a white people thing because I didn't mention seasoning. And 2, can we please legalize weed now? We're making Taco Bell look like fine dining with this stuff. And my grandma still calls me to make sure I'm not smoking the devil's lettuce. No, Grandma, I'm eating your turkey from last year's Thanksgiving. A Milwaukee bakery was burgled, so the owners put the suspect's face on sugar cookies to raise awareness. The only place I get my face on is at the door at the gym with a note that says, "Don't let this man in, he's only fooling himself." A Wisconsin man on trial for the murder of his ex-girlfriend said that calling her 49 times on the day she was killed, it was not obsessive behavior. He said rather, he just really wanted his Nickelback CD back. German authorities say they busted a child porn site used by 400,000 members. In other news, there are now 400,000 sexually frustrated German perverts on the streets, so have a great time at Oktoberfest.
Bennifer is back. All right. The formerly engaged couple Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez have been spotted together on several occasions recently since J-Lo broke off her engagement to A-Rod, sparking internet rumors that the two have reunited. Fine, but if I hear one whiff of a Geely 2 movie, so help me God. And now for news on the TV show Friends. Wait, is it 2003? HBO Max announced that the highly anticipated Friends reunion special will be aired on May 27th on the streaming service. So in preparation, I've already started coming up with drinking games to play while watching the special. You take a shot every time they say, "We were on a break," "Oh my God," "They don't know we know they know we know," or any puns about them being there for you, or the one with. Oh God, I'm gonna die from alcohol poisoning on May 28th, aren't I? Oh well, worth it. It's time to check in on late AM darling Marjorie Taylor Greene. MJT caused a scene in Congress when she chased Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez through the corridors of the Capitol building, yelling at her about her radical socialism and accusing her of supporting terrorists and Antifa. And she was challenging her to a debate on pay-per-view television about her Green New Deal. AOC mostly ignored Greene's taunts, but this did give me a great new idea on how to solve America's debt crisis. Hear me out. MJT, AOC, pay-per-view TV, WWE SmackDown.
A New Jersey police officer is facing demotion after offering a promotion to one of his officers if he let him sleep with either his wife or his preteen daughter. What does it take to get fired as a cop in this country? Accidentally shooting a white person? He pressured one of his employees into pimping out his underage kid, and Internal Affairs said, yeah, but is he a bad guy? I asked Jennifer to give a mechanic a hand job for a free transmission repair, and now I have to go to couples counseling, and this guy's getting busted all the way down to assistant police chief.
Assistant to the police chief.
That's an office joke.
A Belgian farmer got annoyed with a big old rock in his way, so he moved it. Unfortunately, the stone marks the border between Belgium and France. French officials say the border wall was only slightly less effective than America's.
A Walmart fight between two women in the chip aisle led to one woman slamming the other in the face with a 10-pound log of ground beef, or as I call it, a grinder special.
In Rome, residents are downright horrified by a vending machine that spits out a freshly cooked pizza in just 3 minutes, saying it lacks the toppings and flavors of a real pizza. In other news, Domino's just fired its entire staff, saying they found a cheaper solution that doesn't demand benefits or a living wage.
Guess what I can do in 3 minutes? Still in Rome, a 23-year-old woman was accidentally given 6 doses of the Pfizer COVID vaccine. Doctors gave her fluids, anti-inflammatory medicine, and are holding her fingers apart so she can't snap half the population out of existence. I am immune.
That's an endgame joke. A 28-year-old Florida woman has been arrested on charges she posed as a student to sneak onto a school to gain Instagram followers. This kind of behavior is disgusting and abhorrent. To learn more and hear similar stories, follow The Late AM Show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
That's all the news for this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Jack Roach.
And I've been Jennifer Roach.
Jennifer, some people say they'd rather listen to me talk than look at me. So clearly they're deaf, but not blind. What do we tell them?
They can find audio-only versions on wherever they find their favorite podcasts.
All right, guys, tune in, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until then, stay safe, stay sane, and have a great morning.
Bye-bye.
I just think it's weird. Like, he's your first cousin.
Well, you know, we are from Kentucky. So.
Look, when I agreed to an open marriage, I did not agree to this.
You didn't really agree to anything.
Again, with that, we need to talk about this counseling session.